We're often asked, how did French Lick Resort come to be? And we're glad you asked because it's quite a story. The French Lick and West Baden Springs hotels were once fierce competitors. But I get ahead of myself. It all began here in 1845 when Dr. William Bowles saw a future in the healing properties of the mineral-laden water that bubbled out of the ground and coursed through the creeks round these parts. That's when he built his first primitive hotel and set everything in motion.
William Bowles had a vision for the French Lick Springs Hotel he created, but his life became mired in political and personal controversy by the time he died in 1873. The hotel and its management changed hands several times, with Dr. Samuel Ryan providing leadership and continuing to make improvements. It almost came to a sudden halt in 1897, when the springs went dry in a drought and fire laid waste to the Windsor Hotel on the resort grounds. Fortunately, the building was well insured, and the springs began flowing again when the drought ended. Things really began to pop in 1901, when former Indianapolis Mayor Tom Taggart bought the hotel and immediately made plans to double its size. The famous gold-gilded lobby was Taggart's work, along with entire new wings, additional floors, and rebuilt spring houses. By now, the Monon Railroad was also stopping at French Lick and West Baden. The Springs Valley was becoming a true destination. And soon, the Taggart-built trolley line was linking the towns. In 1914, Tom Taggart built a modern new bottling plant for his Pluto water and was soon shipping 450 carloads annually on those same rail lines that were bringing in hotel guests. The French Lick Springs Hotel was thriving, helped in no small part by Taggart's high-profile role as head of the National Democratic Party. Franklin Delano Roosevelt would solidify his first run for the presidency at the French Lick Hotel during a national conference of governors. Hollywood luminaries graced the hotel as well. That's Lana Turner signing that autograph. Beyond the glitz and glamour, illegal gambling flourished openly in the Springs Valley. We were Las Vegas before there was a Las Vegas. Tom Taggart disavowed gambling, but benefited richly from the people the dozen or so illegal casinos brought to his hotel, and his political connections kept the government away. Tom Taggart died in 1929, but his son Tom Jr., seen here with President Truman during a visit to French Lick, kept things going through the Depression and World War II. Tom Jr. sold the hotel in 1946 and died in 1949. Just a few months later, police swept in and shut down the gambling business in French Lick and West Baden. The times they were a-changing, and not for the better. The hotel went through several owners and got a breath of new life when Sheraton took over in 1955. They made numerous changes and targeted the convention business. Sheraton sold out in the 70s, and the ownership merry-go-round continued as the hotel went into a slow state of decay.
Even though it was on a downhill slide, the French Lick Springs Hotel remained open. What was happening just 1 mile away would prove pivotal to its future. The West Baden Springs Hotel, known back in the day as the Mile Lick Hotel, was started by Dr. John Lane around 1850. Interesting thing here, Lane had run French Lick for William Bowles on a lease while Bowles was away. Well, when Bowles returned, Lane saw opportunity here. He moved down the road and built his own place, eventually changing the name of Mile Lick to the West Baden Springs Hotel. New owners would move it forward until.
Lee Wiley Sinclair was a successful businessman and state legislator who bought into the West Baden Springs Hotel in 1888. A man with a vision, Sinclair added things to the grounds like an opera house and a spectacular enclosed double-decker bicycle and horse track that was 2/3 of a mile long, so big that he put a baseball field and tennis courts inside. They really were the gay 90s at West Baden as the railroad brought in guests from across the Midwest. The hotel prospered. June 14th, 1901, disaster. A devastating fire swept through the grounds, leveling several buildings and dashing Sinclair's dreams. Spurred on by his daughter, Lee Sinclair decided to rebuild, but in a most spectacular fashion. He would build a hotel centered around the world's largest free-span dome and do it in less than a year. Preposterous. Can't be done, they said. Sinclair found architect Harrison Albright, who said it could be done, and employing some of the same techniques used to build the big suspension bridges of the era, did it in less than a year. An amazing feat that resulted in an amazing structure that soon became known as the eighth wonder of the world. With the domed hotel as the centerpiece, Lee Sinclair's resort and its many amenities gained all manner of fame. The baseball field inside that bicycle track would host numerous major league teams for spring training in the early 1900s. The Chicago Cubs trained here when they won the World Series in '07 and '08. And like the French Lick Hotel, West Baden too had benefited greatly from all of the gambling in the valley. Lee Sinclair was already planning a major hotel renovation when he died in 1916. His daughter Lillian and her husband Charles Rexford pressed on with the work, and a year later, the Grecian court style that we see in the atrium today came to be. With World War I raging, Lillian leased the hotel to the U.S. Army for use as a hospital in 1918. Army Hospital No. 35 may have been the most grandly appointed facility of its kind. Christmas that year featured a performance by the Hagenbeck Wallace Circus inside the atrium, the ultimate big top. When it came time to turn West Baden back into a hotel, Lillian Sinclair sold it to Ed Ballard, the man who owned that circus and had made millions running many of the area gambling houses. Ballard made more improvements and attracted more convention business. West Baden was on a roll. Until the crash. The guests disappeared within days. Ballard hung on until the fall of 1931 when he closed the doors of the empty hotel for good. With no buyers in sight, Ed Ballard sold West Baden to the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, for $1. The hotel became a seminary for the training of Catholic priests within the order. An ironic pairing, this opulent structure and a group centered on an austere and simple lifestyle. The Jesuits had made West Baden their own until 1962, when the cost of upkeep became too much for them. The hotel sat vacant until 1966 when Northwood Institute moved in and set up a college program that included hotel and restaurant management study. Northwood had a 17-year run until the cost of maintaining that magnificent dome structure got the better of them as well. With Northwood out, West Baden sat vacant from 1983 on, while other owners with dreams and schemes came and went. The eighth wonder of the world and its once immaculate grounds continued to deteriorate, as did the Springs Valley economy. This wall collapse in 1991 forced the Indiana Landmarks Foundation into action. If not stopped, it might be the beginning of the end of this entire National Historic Landmark. The foundation was able to make temporary repairs, but stabilizing the wall and saving the hotel was a far, far bigger task. That's when the foundation contacted Bill and Gail Cook in Bloomington. Self-made billionaires in the biomedical device field, the Cooks were also becoming more and more passionate about historic preservation. They stepped up initially with $2 million. The Historic Landmarks Foundation bought West Baden for $250,000 in 1996. The Cooks said they would help fix it up to the point that it could be sold. Well, the job just got bigger and bigger and more costly. But the Cooks hung in there. Then no one wanted to buy the place. What now? Gambling, legal this time, would again fire up the local economy. With lots of local support, State Representative Jerry Dembo was able to get the state's last casino license for French Lick. In 2005, a Cook subsidiary was awarded that casino license. With a financial plan that now made sense for the future, they purchased West Baden and the French Lick Springs Hotel. It was full speed ahead on multiple fronts. There were plenty of surprises, bumps, and cost overruns along the way, but the Cooks, with son Carl also fully involved, were not about to be deterred from restoring the eighth wonder of the world to its former glory. The doors reopened in 2007. West Baden, a hotel once again for the first time since 1931.
So now you know the story of how French Lick Resort came to be. Want to learn more? Be sure to check out the photos and historic displays around both hotels. Take a Historic Landmarks guided tour. Stroll our outdoor self-guided walking tour between the two hotels. Visit the French Lick West Baden Museum in downtown French Lick. We have a fascinating history that we love to share. Thanks for watching.